Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a fantastic day today. All right, here we go. Again, I'm reading this book, Bird Watching, about the great Larry Bird. And as I read things, come across things, it makes me think about the game in different aspects of the game and the players of the game and why those players are who they are. And again, for those of you who follow my channel, who've been following my channel, you know that the theme around this channel is we don't talk about stats because I don't believe stats are the end-all be-all. I believe the intangibles are the end-all be-all. I believe the mindset, the mentality, who you are as a person is actually the things that define how successful you will be. And on that note, I'm going to read another small passage. Again, I'm pretty sure this is coming from Pat Riley, who I think we can all agree is one of the greatest NBA coaches to do it. And, again, he's talking about the battles between the Celtics and the Showtime Lakers. But this particular part, he's talking about coaches and the players and pretty much what sets them apart. So let me read this right quick. So he says, the truly good coaches and players always observe those they compete against. They study, they watch, they listen, they look for ways to beat them in their game. I've spent 18 years studying all kinds of coaches, trying to identify the common denominator that makes their game work. I believe it's a sincere, competent, reliable, restlessly competitive disposition to dominate all aspects of the game. All good coaches have the knowledge, but it's their disposition and attitude that sets them apart. Bird reeks of it. It's not conjured up. It is simply there. Yeah. So this is something I feel like I have said over and over again on this channel, that it is the attitude. It is that killer mentality, that killer mentality that you fanboys like to try to pretend that since it's something not quantifiable, that it is not a legitimate way to measure players. But I would argue that killer mentality is the whole reason your king is where he's at and has never been able to get where he wants to get. But let me read a little bit of this once again. I believe it's a sincere, competent, reliable, restlessly competitive disposition to dominate all aspects of the game. All good coaches have the knowledge, but it's their disposition and attitude that sets them apart. No truer words have been spoken. It is the disposition and attitude. And this is why LeBron James could have never, ever been the GOAT. His disposition and attitude is not the mindset of someone who could ever be the GOAT. So before I get further into this, let me give you a little background about myself and how I think of things. Again, I'm someone, I've said before on this channel, I like to study the people who I think are the best of the best at what they do and find out what the common denominator is. Just like Pat Riley said. And what I have found is that the people who are the best of the best, whether you're talking about Michael Jordan or Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, they all have very similar mindsets, maybe coming from a slightly different perspective, but they all have the same thing. Obviously, one of them is work ethic, bar none. But two is this fearlessness of failure, that they don't fear failing, or at the very least, they somehow manage to embrace failure as just part of what has to happen to get to the ultimate goal. So myself, in real life, I'm a very empathetic person. And that is because, unlike a lot of people, I do not believe that all people are capable of the same things. I believe this is one of the single greatest mistakes of humanity, is that we believe that, hey, if I can do it, you can do it. I do not believe that. I believe there are some things that I can do that you can spend your whole life trying to do, and you will never be as good as I am at it. And I believe that there are some things that you could do that I can spend my whole life practicing the same amount you do, or practicing more than you do, and I will never be as good at that thing as you are, because we are that different as people. Another trait of super successful people is that they are normally high energy people. When we're talking about Michael Jordan, we've all heard the stories. We've heard the stories of him not sleeping much and still getting up the next day and scoring 30, and then being back at practice the next day and still playing just as hard as if they were playing a playoff game. We've heard the story. However, if anyone has seen the Dream Team documentary, we've also heard Magic Johnson say that, hey, I can't do that. Michael Jordan would be trying to get me to stay up to 5 and 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning. And I would have to tell him, Mike, I got to go to bed. I can't do that. So we all can't function at that same rate. So yeah, I believe part of the reason Michael Jordan is who he is because he's a high energy person. And that allows him to outwork a lot of people. That allows him to do the things we've all heard that he does. Again, not sleep, and still is high intensity, high energy at all times. But the other thing is just that simple relentlessness, that killer mentality to want to dominate the competition. And we are not all like that. I believe that the reason that Michael Jordan took the world by storm, the reason that we still talk about him to this day, the reason that in the 90s he inspired every one of us to want to play basketball, is because we want to relate to somebody like Michael Jordan. We want to believe that we are that relentless, we are that competitive, that we can be that dominating of the competition. But the reality of it is we can't all be like that. That's why there's Michael Jordan. That's why Michael Jordan stands out. And this is who he is. Part of it is who he is as a person, at his core, his DNA. Part of it is how he was raised, his father, his mother, both being in his life, both being a good influence, both being encouraging, yet encouraging that competition, to be competitive, to work hard. Everything from his DNA to his upbringing made him who he is. And that was a competitive killer on the basketball court. This is who Michael Jordan is. I would argue because of his DNA and how he was brought up, he actually could not be any other way. Because he is a high energy person, he couldn't be any other way. Because he's one of the most athletic people that we've ever seen in the history of the game of basketball, he could not be any other way. Again, I think him and Wilt Chamberlain, I would say, are the two most athletic basketball players we've ever seen. And arguably, maybe the most athletic athletes we've ever seen, period. And someone recently asked me for a video on Wilt Chamberlain. That's coming up. It'll either be later this week or early next week. I'll do a video on Wilt Chamberlain. But that is who Michael Jordan is. These things that make him who he is, no one else in the world could be that. Now, will we ever see another Michael Jordan? That is possible. But everything depends upon, this person is going to have to be a high energy person. This person is going to have that relentlessness in his DNA, and this person is going to have to be raised in a way that cultivates that relentlessness. And because of all these things, this is why I say it was never possible for LeBron James to be a Michael Jordan. It is just not in him for LeBron James to be Michael Jordan. Yes, LeBron James is one of the better athletes we've seen in the game of that basketball, but he's not, I don't think LeBron is as freak of an athlete as they try to make him seem. I mean, he's 6'8", he's probably slightly stronger than most people around that, and he's probably definitely faster than most people around that height. However, he's not on the Michael Jordan level. He's not Wilt Chamberlain. I would even argue he's not Shaquille O'Neal in that sense. So, yeah, it is not in LeBron James. It was never in LeBron James to be Michael Jordan. It was never possible. The only way it was possible is through narratives. It's through making excuses. And through making excuses for why he doesn't have the killer mentality. And through making excuses that he doesn't really need the killer mentality. Well, yes, if you are going to beat someone who not only was one of the most athletic people we've ever seen play the game, who was one of the most relentless people we've ever seen play the game, who's one of the most skilled people we've ever seen play the game, who's one of the hardest workers that we've ever seen play the game, yes, then you also need that killer mentality to surpass a person like that. Now, if Michael Jordan was 5'8", not fast and not skilled, but had the killer mentality, which really doesn't even go together because I feel like someone with that killer mentality, they are going to be skilled because that mentality drives them to be skilled. And I'm going to be honest, I don't even believe Shaquille O'Neal had the killer mentality in the same way. Shaquille O'Neal had more of a domineering bully kind of mentality because his size let him get away with that. So he knew he could bully people. But again, the fact that, he never became a good free throw shooter, to me, that's an absence of a killer mentality. That's an absence of a need to erase all your deficiencies so that your enemy or your competition has nothing on you. And reading through this book about Larry Bird, to me, a lot of the things that I'm reading sounds a lot like Michael Jordan. Again, I've said this in another video. I believe that if Larry Bird had the athleticism of Michael Jordan, we would be looking at the two GOATs, the two undisputed GOATs. Because I believe they would be very similar. Because I believe Larry Bird's mentality is almost identical to Michael Jordan's. He just didn't have that same athleticism to go with it. But yeah, LeBron James' DNA is not that of a Michael Jordan. He doesn't have that killer mentality. The way he was raised did not foster those that no excuse, fix your weaknesses, keep trying until you get it right kind of attitude that Michael Jordan had. And I know you fanboys, you're going to be in your feelings about this. I understand, but that's cool because I am here to hurt your feelings. Let me go ahead and say that. I am here to hurt your feelings. Because that's the only way you're going to wake up out of this delusion. But yeah. So this is why we see the LeBron James that we see. This is why we see someone trying to convince us that he's something that he's not, instead of just proving it. And last but not least, I'm gonna say this. As someone whose status depends on public consensus, you do not get to dictate to the public what you think your value is. Let's get to the long and short of it. If you are in any kind of entertainment, you are a product. And the public dictates the value of that product. That's just the long and short of it. The public dictates the value of that product. It doesn't matter if it's a product on the shelves in retail or if it's the product that we are watching, if it's movies, if it's music, anything that depends on public consumption and depends on fans and the public to exist. The public determines your value. And so you cannot tell the public what you think your value should be. No fans, no NBA. And so last but not least, I'm going to say this to you fanboys. Like I've said in many videos, every time a poll comes out about who is the GOAT, it is overwhelmingly Michael Jordan. That is who the public sees as the greatest player to ever play the game. The people have spoken at that point. And LeBron James does not get to tell us that it should be me. We get to tell you, if it is you, we get to tell you that, hey, you have amazed us. That we see you as the ultimate competitor. That we see you as the standard by everyone else should now be measured. We get to tell you that. That's how it works. And I played this in another video of mine where Michael Jordan says, you can't fool the consumer. You cannot fool the consumer. You cannot tell us that we are seeing something that we know we are not seeing. You cannot tell us that he's this and he's so great and this and that and all this. And then when we watch the games, we're like, yeah, but we're not seeing it. So yeah, LeBron James is not the GOAT. LeBron James is not top 5. LeBron James is arguably not top 10. But even more importantly than that, who LeBron James is, his mentality, his DNA, he was never, ever going to be as great as Michael Jordan. Case closed. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree that it is, as Pat Riley says, all good coaches have the knowledge, and I would say, I'm going to reword this a little bit. All good coaches and players have the knowledge, but it is their disposition and attitude that sets them apart. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly fantastic day, and I will see you next time. All right.